Okay, if I were to ask this question in the US, it would be very grim. It would be like 4% of the people in the audience. So definitely with the advent of tapered collared stem, cemented stem fixation has gone down. So these are my disclosures. And so if you're going to cement in 2026, I think you have to have take into account very important things. First, you need to choose the right stem. You need to talk with your anesthesiologist to make sure that they're aware that you're going to be cementing the stem. And obviously, the typical steps associated with bone preparation, cement mixing, preparation of the implant, as well as insertion, as well as having a post-insertion routine. And I'll show those in a case. So this is a typical patient that I would say I used to cement. So I haven't cemented a stem in about 3 years. That's why this video is going to be a little old, because I didn't have a new video to be able to take. This is a 66-year-old female, cardiac transplant, osteonecrosis, osteoporosis, had a previous cemented stem on the opposite side. So this is my routine, and we're going to start here primarily with the femoral preparation. When you prepare the bone, just remember that you want to leave cancellous bone. This is not the French paradox, at least in my hands, taking out all the cancellous bone. We're going to leave cancellous bone, and therefore the preparation I do by hand, because it's a careful, you're just opening the canal to be able to fit a stem. So I use a taper slip philosophy for my cementing. So again, hand preparation is critical, and then leaving at least 3 millimeters of cancellous bone, especially in the calcar. And you'll see that because you want that cancellous bone to be able to, in order to achieve that interdigitation of the cement to the cancellous bone. The broaching is very simple as well. You don't need to go out big because you don't need a press fit. Then you'll see here that the preparation of the canal is also very important. So irrigation of the canal is critical. Obviously, we use a very modern cement technique. We're going to plug the canal, but the irrigation of the canal is critical to avoid blood as well as bone marrow contents in the canal. Remember that there is very good data to show if you do an transesophageal echocardiogram, there's bone marrow and bone marrow contacts that are embolized with preparation of the canal as well as cementing. So it's going to happen no matter what, but you want to minimize that. So that's why we dry the canal, that's why we clean it, that's why you can use epinephrine sponges or whatever you want, or I use just regular dry sponges. You want to maintain that canal dry. And that's why I also use this suction tube, because it keeps the canal dry at the time of cementing. Then we'll prepare the cement. We use a very simple cement mixing system, which is simply what you would use in your ORs here as well. Fume extraction. We use the mixing of the cement to try to eliminate the porosity in the cement, to be able to decrease the porosity at the time of cementing as well. And this is my scrub nurse, who's now been working with me for about 20 years, who is preparing the cement. We use a gun, and we're going to use retrograde cementing technique. That means we're going to fill the canal from inside out, and then we're going to pressurize the canal as well. And here we are, sticking the cement into the canal, pulling it out, and once the suction tube gets clogged with cement, then you pull it out so that you don't cement the tube in. And then, of course, this is perfect. We took out and had half of the cement came out, but that's not usually the case. Usually a lot of cement stays in the canal. Then we're going to cement, and then in hip fracture patients, I do not like to pressurize except to thumb pressurize, because those are the highest risk patients. But if you're doing any other cases, I do think that pressurization is important to achieve that complete whiteout of the cement, to achieve a good cement mantle. And you'll see here in the video that we actually get bone marrow coming out of the femur as we're pressurizing. These are the times when you're talking with the anesthesiologist, you're telling them, increase the fluids, decrease the nitrogen oxide, make sure that they know exactly that you're cementing. And then when you're inserting the stem, it's important to put your thumb right over the calcar to maintain the pressure so that the cement goes out and doesn't come up. So you'll see my thumb is right over the calcar, putting a little bit of pressure there so that I can place that stem with good, I would say, pressure into the canal. Make sure you remove all the cement, make sure you check the cups that you don't leave any cement behind, and this should all take about 7 minutes. This is the immediate postoperative x-ray of this patient. Now I'll finish by saying, don't forget about cement. It's useful. I don't do it as much as I used to, but I think there's very good data on the outcomes of cement, but balance the risk. Of course, it's increased over time. There's a risk of retained cement, but the risk that most people fear, which is death or this cement implantation syndrome, is relatively rare, and we've shown that it should not occur in more than 1 in 10,000 cemented hip arthroplasties. Thank you very much for your attention.